Next up is Samir Dahman, who is a partner with Corman Jackson Krantz in Columbus. He focuses on commercial litigation, business, estate planning, and employment law. He was selected as one of the top 5 lawyers in Columbus and top 100 lawyers in Ohio, received Columbus Business First 40 Under 40 Award, and also is an adjunct professor at the Ohio State University Moritz College of Law. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. So resilience is performing well in a difficult situation. It's reacting well and getting out of a hostile environment. Resilience is succeeding when the cards are stacked against you. My name is Samir Dahman. I've been living in Columbus, Ohio since 2004, and I'm a Michigan fan. If that's not resilience, I don't know what is. Thank you. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of my experiences, and then I'll talk about what I think has been helpful from a professional standpoint on being resilient. I went to college in the late 90s and was looking for a sexy consulting job at a big accounting firm in Chicago or New York, and I was fortunate enough to get a final round interview at Ernst & Young in Chicago. And I was so excited because all my peers were getting these great jobs, and like 2 weeks after I was out there, they announced they were having 15,000 people in layoffs. So I obviously didn't get that job, and ended up taking a job in Taipei, Taiwan, as an economic statistician at a Chinese investment bank, making $4.25 per hour in 2003. And so that was kind of a big setback for me. I was like, man, all my friends are making 50 grand at these great jobs. But I was thoughtful about my time there. And I learned and realized that I would need to have some kind of graduate degree to have an impact on what I do on a day-to-day basis and have more job satisfaction. And I ended up going to law school. But my time in Taiwan wasn't just making crap money and living in a second world country. It was just one of the most transformative experiences about my life, in my life. And I'm very thankful for that. And fast forward a few years, it's 2007, graduating from law school, have a good job at a big firm. Actually, Chad and I used to be colleagues. And it was a really exciting time. And I was super keen on real estate and development because I just thought that was cool. But that was obviously not a good time to get into real estate with the housing market crash and stuff like that. So gravitated towards litigation, which was cool because I had a lot of friends at the firm, and it was an interesting, at an entry-level point, understandable for like a new lawyer, at least in my opinion. The market crashed, there's layoffs everywhere, and I was just sort of getting discouraged with the billable hour concept because I didn't want to just be like a highly paid hourly worker. I wanted to be paid more, or I wanted to be working more for like the effect that I had, not just how long it took me to do something. So as it turns out, one of my non-billable projects was something called legal project management. And I came to understand that the only reason why you would do legal project management would be to increase efficiency in getting something done. So normally you think of project management in construction, like build this building in this time frame to these specs, or even your own house. Or you'd think about it in IT projects. We want an app that does this, and we want it along these parameters, and we'll pay X dollars. And so I came to understand that the only reason that you would do that project management was if you were doing things not on a billable hour, because if you are generating revenue by how long it takes you to do something, you have an incentive to just spend more time doing it. And I do some billable work, but I came to not really be comfortable with that just personally. And so in late 2011, I started my own firm based solely on the concept of fixed fee work with an incentive bonus, like a success fee for whatever the client's goals were. And that worked out great. We grew the firm from just me to several attorneys and several non-lawyer staff, and a lot of firms around Columbus were trying to get us to join them and whatnot. And I ended up meeting up with this Cleveland firm where I'm currently at, Corman Jackson Krantz, and so things worked out. So those are just two kind of like quick examples in a professional context, and I really appreciate the personal resiliency stories about, how, a job might suck at first, but if you're thoughtful about it and are passionate about it, about something, then you can turn it into something that works out really well. And I spent some time thinking about what I think from a professional legal standpoint is helpful in making lawyers more resilient. And I came up with 5 or 6 points. The first one was you got to have a skill that you enjoy, that's needed. So if I wanted to go into real estate back in 2007, that would not have worked out very well because no one needed that work. And if I wanted to do something, but let's say like back then bankruptcy was hot, but I just hated numbers, that would not have worked because if I just can't stand doing something, I'm not going to think about it well, and I'm not going to be thoughtful about it, and then I'm going to do poor work, and that's not going to go well. So that's the first point, is find a skill that's needed that you enjoy. The second point that I think is helpful in developing resiliency is having not just a safety net, well, I guess it's having a safety net, financially and personally. So you're going to weather a storm if you've got a nest egg. So think about, like, I think I was Googling like resiliency pictures yesterday to maybe do a presentation, and there was like this picture of a seed in the desert, like growing this beautiful flower. Well, if I recall correctly, sometimes when those plants are able to survive through a drought or a fire, it's because they have like some mechanism that allows them to store energy and resources to like blossom after the flood or the fire or the drought. So, being financially responsible, I think, is really important to be resilient. So, if the economic crisis, the economy is going to turn down sometime soon, and so having a nest egg financially is really important. And in terms of people, it's really important to surround yourself and develop relationships because 1, why not? 2, you never know when someone could help you or you could help someone else. And 3, I believe that we're all connected, and I could go into another talk about that, but I think that somehow that really helps build resiliency and keeping that safety net there. The third thing is to know the market or be thoughtful about the market and pay attention to what's on the horizon. And this might seem obvious, but I do think that reading the magazines and learning and following up, at least from our profession, on what's the next trend. I mean, fixed fees were a big trend back in the mid-2000s, and that's kind of how I stumbled upon it. And if I wouldn't have been working on that non-billable project, I probably would have missed it. And it worked out into a great way of transitioning my career from grunt litigation associate to happy entrepreneur. The fourth point is that you've got to know how to sell yourself. So whether you're a law firm partner looking for business or the leader of a nonprofit, if you can't tell people or convince people to use you or to give money to your organization, you could be the best lawyer or have the most benevolent cause in the world. Nobody's going to give you money to do anything if you can't convince them to do that. So to be resilient, you've got to be a good communicator. You've got to know how to sell yourself or your organization. And you'd be surprised because sales is a really important skill at whether it's in the legal profession or in the manufacturing or services or whatever, or politics. If you can't convince people that they should hire you or bring you on or use your group, you could be the best in the world, but no one's going to hire you. And also, having that ability to communicate and sell yourself, it's just valuable because a lot of people in the world, and especially in the legal career, are just uncomfortable talking to people or being social and things like that. The fifth point that I think really helps develop resiliency is having what I call the right attitude. We've all heard that phrase. Some Greek philosopher said, the only thing constant is change. Yeah, that's true. I mean, if you look at transportation, 100 years ago it was horse and buggy. 50 years ago, or 30 years ago, it was taxis, and 5 years ago it's Uber. And you've seen, and I don't know if you guys pay attention, but you see there's just way less taxis now. Or I see some taxi drivers or some guys who used to be a cab driver and now they're just using Uber. So we've got to have the attitude that change is going to happen and that we can't be afraid of it. The other thing is not having rosy glasses on. I mean, you can't be walking through life just expecting you're going to promotion after promotion. You know, people die, jobs get lost, terrible things happen. And if the attitude is, well, it's just going to work out great and everything's going to be easy, you're going to, when tough times or bad things happen, you're not going to be able to get through them. But at the same time, you actually have to be an optimist and be thinking of solutions. Otherwise, you got to get up every morning, like Chad said, and be excited to work on something, not just be getting up because you have to do something. The final point that I have is to be resilient, you've got to be a thought leader. And this gets back to like paying attention to the market and things like that. But studying what you're doing, becoming an expert on it, and and getting excited about the next new idea, it helps you be ready for whatever change is coming. So in sum, the three things that I have to say are about being resilient are be prepared, be a thought leader, and pay attention to what's going on in the world, and have what I call the right attitude. Thank you.